guys, welcome back. Today I think the title kinda speaks for itself, with Halo Infinite having the worst launch in franchise history in terms of content. There's a lot of stuff missing from Halo Infinite, and it's not just things like Forge and Infection and stuff like that. There are so many things that you don't even consciously think about that complement the overall experience that are totally absent from this game with no indication as to when they're going to be arriving. I think Favin put it best in one of his recent videos. To kind of paraphrase his point, he basically said that Halo's biggest strength wasn't any single mode or any single feature. Rather, it was the cohesion between all those features and how well they fed off of each other and played into each other. And it really feels like Halo Infinite has just totally and utterly abandoned that mantra. So today, we're going to go through 7 features that I think Halo Infinite desperately needs to survive long term, because right now, it ain't looking so good. Now, some of these features will require some extra development on 343's side, but others, I think, can be created right now in-game with the existing tools and features, and thus could be implemented rather immediately, or at least I hope they could. So let's begin the list. Starting off, we have more playlists that are made with existing tools and features. Now, don't get me wrong, Infinite is severely lacking in content, especially in the game mode custom games department. However, there's still plenty 343 could be doing right now with the currently available toolset in custom games to add variety to the matchmaking experience, but for some reason they aren't. I think right now 343's best bet would be to lean into rotational playlists that highlight fun combinations in Halo Infinite Sandbox, like for example a playlist that's like grapple snipers or repulsor rockets or thruster skewers, needler drop wall, even something as simple as shotty snipers, right? A weekly or bi-weekly rotational playlist with a unique mode that has a unique quirk to it would add so much variety to what is honestly one of the most bland Halo matchmaking experiences to date. And furthermore, there's some even easier and more obvious stuff they could be doing as well, like where's team snipers, where's team doubles, where's multi-team, team objective, or BTB heavies. These things are almost all possible right now within Infinite's existing toolset, so why not make the most of what little content and features your game has while you work on extra content in the background? I think the issue with matchmaking right now in Halo Infinite is the fact that there's barely any fun, casual ways to play the game. Everything, every single playlist, just feels turbo sweaty 24/7, but that's something that I'm going to come on to more in a minute. And on the topic of being kinda sweaty, Infinite's ranked offering is, again, just abysmal. Why there's still only one ranked playlist 4 months after launch is just confusing to me. And also, why is the only ranked playlist the HCS competitive settings, when arguably that's one of the most niche ways to play Halo? And I say that as a long-time massive competitive Halo fan, right? Obviously, the HCS settings should have their own ranked playlist at all times, but there's so much more to ranked than just the competitive settings. I mean, ranked team slayer, ranked team snipers, free-for-all, team doubles, for example, all things that should be added right now, and that also, I think if they were added, would kind of alleviate to a small degree the content issues of this game, because people would have more Onyx ranks to grind for. Definitely not a long-term fix for the content issue, but as a short-term band-aid, it'd definitely do. And on the topic of things to grind, one of the elements of game design that adds tremendously to replayability is totally and utterly absent in Halo Infinite: long-term goals. And if you ask me, the 2 best features that Halo has had for a long time to facilitate long-term goals are a progression system and commendations. The fact that Halo Infinite launched without any form of long-term underlying progression system is just confusing to me. Seeing that XP bar go up after every game and seeing the rank next to your name increase, giving you a cool new icon, just hits the dopamine receptors every time like nothing else. Having a long-term progression system with rewards littered throughout gives you a reason to come back and play every day, because you always have something to strive for. You always feel like you're achieving something, and thus you feel rewarded by the game for dedicating your time to it over other games. Right now, once you finish the battle pass, there's literally nothing to do. Your time in-game isn't rewarded whatsoever. All the XP that you happen to earn from challenges just gets launched right into the void. So why continue to play a game that doesn't respect your time with it when there are countless other titles out there that absolutely do respect your time with them and reward you for spending time with them in spades. It's a no-brainer, right? I really do think that 343 have underestimated how much of an impact progressing and ranking up have on a player's willingness to return and stick with a game. And also, as a kind of byproduct of the lack of progression system, the way that Halo Infinite encourages you to play is incredibly unhealthy. There are 0 performance-based rewards in Halo Infinite whatsoever, unless of course you happen to get a certain challenge that asks you to win a game or get 5 kills in a game or something, which of course is luck of the draw. Outside of the one ranked playlist, you're rewarded as much if you win as you are if you lose. As much for dropping 40 kills in a Team Slayer as you are for going -40, or as much as you are for getting 300 seconds of ball time in Oddball, as opposed to 0 seconds. Without an underlying progression system, there is no incentive for you to actually play well in this game. I mean, hell, you can't even see how many games you've won in-game without going to some third-party fan-made website that hooks into the API to see that. Winning has 0 incentive in-game whatsoever unless you happen to have a challenge for it. Instead, thanks to the game's abysmally designed challenge system, which acts as the only reward system in the game, you're forced to play in very specific and often counterintuitive ways to experience what little progression Halo Infinite has to offer. This system encourages a perpetual lone wolf style of gameplay because everyone loads into a game with their own set of unique goals they need to achieve that may be counterintuitive to the goals of their teammates or even to the mode they're playing, and I don't think I need to go into much detail as to how that's damaging to the overall player experience. There's also the social element of a progression system as well that I think people sleep on quite a lot. I mean, the bragging rights that you get for having a certain rank and being a higher rank than your friends, for getting that 5-star general or that brigadier general and your friends only being colonels or majors. That was such a good talking point back in Halo 3 and Halo Reach. Or there's things like people racing to hit the max rank first, like I remember that happened in MCC when that got a progression system. That was pretty cool. These social aspects of the progression system get people talking about it. They get people wanting to join in and take part in the game. And right now there's no reason to want to do that with Halo Infinite. Social features in general, this game just utterly fails at, but I'll get to that more in a minute. The other feature that I think really bolsters long-term replayability is commendations. Now, every game since Reach, or rather Reach, Halo 4 and Halo 5, have commendations. However, the gold standard was set by Halo 4 with ease. Halo 4's commendations were absolutely perfect. It had commendations for literally everything. Weapons, game modes, medals, campaign, all of which rewarded XP, armor, and skins for completion, and none of which required an unnecessarily long and artificial grind to complete, but at the same time, none of them were so easy that they negatively impacted the way that people played in-game, unlike Halo Infinite's challenge system. There was something to progress for every type of Halo fan, regardless of what their favourite mode or style of play or even their skill level was. Right now, if you don't want to cough up any money for the, and in my opinion still drastically overpriced item store, then there's basically nothing to unlock in Halo Infinite. And I really think that adding commendations akin to Halo 4's would be a great way to alleviate that. I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to ensuring all kinds of players have something in-game to strive for, and also that they are adequately rewarded for doing so. Regardless of how they play Halo, of their skill level or their favourite modes, they should always have a goal that drives them to log in every day or so to progress towards, and also with a worthy reward at the end of that goal. And to me, a long-term Halo 3/Reach military rank style progression system with Halo 4 style commendations would be the best way to do that. But what are goals and achievements if you don't have any way to show them off, right? And that's where the next feature comes in. Something that I don't think, at least in-game, has really been present since Halo Reach, at least in great detail. A service record. Infinite does the bare minimum right now, showing off a player's Spartan when you hover over them, and their highest campaign completion, matchmaking, and custom games played when you click on their profile. There's no way to show off your Battle Pass tier, your Event Battle Pass tiers, or even your CSR rank. There's also no way to view your own stats either. No way to view your kills or deaths or assists or wins or losses or any medals in any degree of detail whatsoever. To do all of this, you have to go to a third-party fan site that uses the game's API, which is cool and all because it shows how impactful a community is, but that stuff should be in-game. Now, granted, Halo Infinite has very little right now to earn or to grind for besides buying stuff from the store, so there wouldn't be much for a service record as it stands now to show off. However, I still think it's an important feature regardless of that. Having an easily accessible page where you can display your Spartan, your emblem and backdrop, your highest campaign completion difficulty, your rank, your rarest medals, file share, your battle pass tier, maybe your KDR and win-loss ratio as well, and hell, maybe even like a cool screenshot you took in theater or a cool clip that you saved would be great for the social aspect of the game, which is something that Infinite is really lacking right now. And once again, I gotta say it, Halo 3 was the absolute gold standard when it came to in-game service records. It displayed all the relevant information in 2 handy screens, very nicely laid out, with very fluid and responsive animations, just overall, beautiful, fantastic presentation. I really do think a service record is important, even now, and over the next few years as 343 finally add things like a progression system and commendations, it'll be even more important to show off all the cool stuff that you've done in-game. Right then, let's get back to Infinite's lack of social features, because I think right now one of the biggest failings of Halo Infinite is its total lack of social atmosphere. Halo used to be all about community, about conversing with your allies and enemies alike, and sharing your treasure chest of cool moments and creations with them. But nowadays, especially with Halo Infinite, Halo just feels like a totally insular experience. There's no pre-game nor post-game lobby, no way to see who your opponents are, their Spartans, their ranks, or browse their file shares whilst the game is loading. There's no proximity chat, so you can't hear your opponent's rage when you out-BR them. And further, there's not even any cross-team chat, so there's no way whatsoever to speak to the enemies. It's almost impossible to even interact with the community in Halo Infinite, let alone even consider building one. Pretty much every Halo up to this point, even eventually Halo 5, gave the community enough features to be able to support the game on their own and prevent a total reliance on developer-made content. I would argue that this is in fact the backbone of Halo as a franchise, and right now that is basically impossible in Halo Infinite. But the lack of a social atmosphere goes deeper than just surface level features like these. Like almost every other game released in like the past 5 or so years, Infinite has a hidden social MMR ranking system, which means that every game that you play, regardless of whether or not it's ranked or social, has almost equally matched teams because of how tight the ranking system is. This makes every game feel real sweaty, and there's no room for just like chilling out and playing anymore. I'm not going to go into much detail about this today because I made at least what I think is a pretty good balanced video about this a while back, so if you want to find out more about that, then I'd go and check that video out. Overall, Infinite is tied with Halo 5 for me in being the least social Halo game of all time, and if you want people to return to your game without burning out or feeling discouraged to do so, then that social atmosphere that was so prevalent in Halo 2, 3, Reach, 4 needs to return. Now, this next feature, or features, I'm not going to stop harping on about until they are fixed, because they are crucial to the overall Halo experience, and the fact that they're still broken is ridiculous. Fix, customs, and theater. Let's start with theater, right? So, since Reach, 2/3 of 343's Halo games have had dysfunctional, buggy, broken messes of theater modes, and 0 out of 3 of 343's Halo games have had campaign theater, when 100% of Bungie's Halo games that had theater had campaign theater. Theater being broken again in Halo Infinite is ridiculous, but I think it hurts the game beyond just being another core feature that's broken, right? Theater is used to clip cool moments, or take cool screenshots, or re-record some great gameplay that you got. These are all actions that play into that word-of-mouth marketing that made Halo so popular in the first place, and I'd argue that kind of marketing is even more prevalent nowadays in the era of social media. I mean, hell, Mint Blitz practically kickstarted the entire short gaming clip genre on YouTube with his MCC clips, many of which were reliant on theater. But That's basically not possible in Halo Infinite. These features market your game for you for free, so why they're in the state they're in, I don't know. And furthermore, in an era where almost every story-driven game, especially open-world story games, are shipping with robust, feature-rich photo modes that, again, allow people to make content that inadvertently markets the game for free to millions, such a feature is nowhere to be seen in Halo Infinite. No campaign theatre, no photo mode, no creative tools whatsoever for the millions of campaign fans that want to share how good this campaign is. The amount of free marketing that you're missing out on by having these features either totally absent or broken is insane. And honestly, you can just take everything that I just said about theatre and pretty much apply it to custom games, and it still applies. The fact that you're having customs break during HCS events live on stream in front of hundreds of thousands of viewers and potential players does not do this game any favors. How, with 4 months into this game, with both of these features still pretty much as broken now as they were on day one during the early access pre-release period, is just insane. So the next feature, it's not really a feature, to be honest with you, that I think Infinite needs is more transparency and more frequent updates from 343. Their strange radio silence, alongside us still being in the dark as to when we're getting this game's long-term roadmap that was meant to release in January, is just peculiar. They need to be far more open and talkative with the community about what they're working on, and honestly, I feel like a healthy thing to do would be to set like very rough tentative dates as to when we're going to see that content. Just say like, okay, this feature is likely to be shipping in Q3, or this one and this one and this one are likely to be shipping in Q4. Just anything to give us a light at the end of the tunnel right now, because there's no light. As it stands right now, there's no light. We also need more frequent updates as well. I mean, just little things like that visor from Cyber Showdown being misaligned. The fix for that not coming until Season 2, almost 4 months after the cosmetic was added, is just absurd. I don't understand why that couldn't have just been hotfixed. Last year, they would not stop harping on about the new engine and how it would allow for them to be super responsive and react to feedback faster than ever. And yet, here we are with half the game still broken 4 months after launch and the other half pretty much missing. They're big, and I say big in extremely emphasized Joey Tribbiani air quotes, mid-season update, which for many other live service games normally entails a decent amount of new content and new ways to play the game, was pretty much just a glorified day one patch that came 2 or 3 months late. Right now, faith in 343's ability to sustain this game long term is dwindling rapidly because they barely talk to us at all. They don't update us, and when they do, it's always far too late. I mean, the few bits of content, aka events and the shop items, that are released since launch were data mined months ago. We've known about that for ages. We went from toy leaks marketing this game for 343 pre-release to data miners marketing the game for them post-release. This could have been avoided if they came out with like a real in-depth Season 1 roadmap at launch, but they didn't, so the community just did it for them, which ironically is actually one of the greatest strengths of Halo as a franchise. The community can take over the work from the developers and fill in the gaps between developer content. Like I was saying earlier during the social part of this video, I think something great they could do now is bring back the monthly Inside Infinite articles just to give us an insight as to what they're working on and when, very roughly, we're likely to see that content. And lastly, the final feature that I think Infinite needs quite desperately is just something big. Whether this is a big new mode or a big content drop for the game, it just needs something big, not a really slow trickle down of content with a few features coming in like every few months. This game is just going to get perpetually overshadowed by other competing titles and releases if they continue with this really slow drip of content. Like I've said in videos before, I think that small trickle down updates like the ones that Infinite gets work if your game has sustained a large population, but in the case of Infinite, where you've lost a lot of that population and you're now trying to win them back, you've got to bring out the big guns. Small trickle-down content doesn't excite people that have already given up on the game. And I mean, I think you can already see this in practice with the TAC Ops event. It barely had an effect on the player population, at least based on the metrics that we can actually tangibly see. And what little effect it did have pretty much withered away entirely in a few days. Whether this big thing is whatever certain Affinity are working on, or some massive content drop for the game from V4.3, I don't know, it just needs something big, because right now, all these live service updates really ain't cutting it. So, those are 7 features that I think Infinite desperately needs right now to sustain itself long term. I'd be honest, I didn't really expect to be making videos like this soon after launch, but here we are. Hello Darkness, my old friend. It's nice to speak with you again. The good news is that Halo being in this state, again, has kind of opened my eyes to the fact that tying my channel down to one franchise just isn't sustainable long term, and it's not healthy for both my content and also for, like, me in terms of, like, my mental space. It's not doing me any favors. So I'm happy to announce that I'm currently working on a bunch of kind of variety content videos. Like, I'm working on a Resident Evil 4 lore video.
Got something that might interest you.
I'm working on a video essay comparing Halo 2 and MGS2, my 2 favorite games of all time. I'm working on a zombies video that I'm really excited to make. I really want to branch out this year, more than just SCP. Still going to do SCP stuff because I really like that content, but more than just SCP and Halo. I really want to add more stuff into the mix, so hopefully this content, when it comes out soonish, you guys will just check it out and support it. I understand that it's not Halo and that most of you probably sub for Halo, but I'd appreciate it if when I release these videos, you guys just, if you want, just check it out, see what you think. You never know. You might enjoy it. I'm really excited to make these videos though, because they're like real passion projects that I feel pretty excited about. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy it, but let's round this video out here. I want to give a massive thank you to my amazing patrons for the continued support over there, as per usual. Thank you all so much, and thank you all so much for watching as well. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you all in the next one.